Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. And this was night one of New Year's Smash for Dynamite. Next week will be night two of New Year's Smash, so it's going to be taking place next week. And this was originally supposed to take place last week, but unfortunately, due to the passing of John Huber, aka Brody Lee, they did a tribute show, which was a great show. So they ended up moving New Year's Smash to this week. And this was an awesome show tonight. This was an awesome night one of New Year's Smash. And a really great ending to the show tonight, which I will get to explaining. And tonight we saw the Young Bucks and SCU. They end up taking on the Acclaimed and the Hybrid 2. We had Warlow versus Jake Hager. Cody Rhodes versus Matt Seidel. We had the AEW Women's World Championship on the line, where Hikaru Shida ended up defending the title against Abadon. And in the main event, we saw Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, defend the AEW World Championship against Rey Fenix. But overall, this was an awesome night one to New Year's Smash. So this is an awesome show. But anyways, let's get right on with the review of night one of New Year's Smash. So Dynamite's night one of New Year's Smash opened up with the tag team match. The Young Bucks, Matt Nick Jackson, and SCU, Frank Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. They end up taking on the Acclaimed, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster, and the Hybrid 2 of Jack Evans and Angelico. This was a pretty fun tag team match here. Very entertaining match. Match started with a brawl between these teams, and they ended up spilling out to the floor. Nick Jackson ended up taking out both Jack Evans and Angelico. Christopher Daniels ended up looking to go for a moonsault, but it got blocked by Anthony Bowens. Christopher Daniels was shown working over the Acclaimed, both Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Jack Evans ended up coming in, ended up hitting a double stomp to Christopher Daniels, went for the cover. Daniels ended up kicking out at 2. You had Christopher Daniels do some moves on Jack Evans. Angelico ended up coming in with a submission. Daniels ended up getting his feet on the ropes. So Christopher Daniels then ended up hitting a Blue Thunder Bomb on Anthony Bowens. Daniels ended up tagging in Frank Kazarian, and he was able to drop Jack Evans and Angelico. We had Evans end up recovering and got control of the match for a little bit. Frank Kazarian ended up tagging in Matt Jackson, and they bolted a double Northern Lights suplex to the Hybrid 2. So at the end of the match, you had Christopher Daniels again in the blind tag. He ended up delivering a moonsault piledriver combo on Jack Evans. Went for the cover. There you go. The Young Bucks and SCU win the match. Post-match, Frank Kazarian ended up getting on the mic, and he ended up saying, "That's how you start out the new year." Kazarian ended up saying that the challenge was put out the next he and Christopher Daniels lose together, and that they will be done as a team forever. And Kazarian ended up saying that he doesn't see that happen on his watch. So Christopher Daniels ended up taking the mic, he ended up saying that he has the Young Bucks' back. So we had the teams, the Young Bucks and SCU, they end up shaking hands, end up celebrating the victory, and that was that. Overall, entertaining tag team match. So then we went to Jon Moxley coming out. Jon Moxley ended up heading out to the ring. Very weird to see Moxley without the AEW World Championship around him after, he lost it to Kenny Omega. So he ended up coming out. He got on the mic. Moxley ended up saying that the fans may have expected him to come out here and cuss up a storm about what happened during his match with Kenny Omega, where Kenny Omega ended up defeating him for the AEW World Championship. Moxley ended up saying that life isn't fair and that sometimes you're given a bad deal and to just take it on the chin. He wanted to say that's when you stand your ground and don't give in an inch. Moxley ended up saying that an appropriate response would be to find Omega and Don Callis and then beat them down with a crowbar. So he ended up saying, it's not his right to change someone else's destiny. And Moxley ended up telling Omega that he's not safe. And when he says he's going to do something, he will do it. He ended up saying that the boogeyman will forever be lurking over your shoulder. So Moxley ended up saying that Kenny Omega is going to one day realize he crossed the wrong guy. And that was how Moxley ended his promo in this segment. But it was a good segment from Moxley, good promo from Moxley here, showing that he's not done with Kenny Omega. And then we went backstage. We had Dasha with Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor, the best friends. And Dasha was asking both Cassidy and Chucky T on an update on Trent. Chucky T ended up saying that Trent has a torn pec and that he's going to be out for 4 to 5 months. So we had Miro, Penelope Ford, and Kip Sabian interrupt them. Miro ended up telling them that he knows Trent was the leader, and if they need a friend, they can come to his house and wash his car and also do his laundry. So I'm like, you could wash your car or do your own laundry, Miro. Hell, you got Lana there, so maybe Lana could help you out. So they end up deciding to have a match next week. So Miro end up upping the stakes by saying if Chucky T loses to him next week, Chucky T has to be Miro's young boy until after Kip and Penelope's wedding. So there you go. That was that. But I found that pretty funny. I'm like, Miro ended up saying, they could come over to his house and do his car and do his laundry. You could do it. Miro could do it himself. Even he has his wife Lana there. Lana could do all that. So, but anyways, moving on. So then we had Warlow versus Jake Hager. This was a decent match here. We had the Inner Circle. We had Sammy Guevara, Santana Ortiz, and MJF standing on the stage. Jericho was on commentary throughout the night. So he was doing commentary for the whole show, which of course is always awesome when he does commentary. So the match started off with Warlow and Hager. They ended up throwing shots at each other at the end of the match. Hager was delivering some punches to Warlow. Warlow delivered a spear in the corner to Hager, delivered a European uppercut, and he delivered more spears, which was crazy. Warlow then planted Hager with a spine buster. Warlow ended up doing release suplexes to Hager. He delivered 3 release suplexes to Hager. Covered Hager. Hager ended up kicking out at 2. Hager got back up and delivered a lariat, a big lariat, to Warlow. He ended up planting him to the mat. Hager went for the cover. Warlow ended up kicking out at 2. Hager came back, delivered the Hager bomb. And Warlow ended up getting his foot up. Hager ended up grabbing it and locked in the ankle lock. Warlow then delivered a kick to Hager's face, shoved Hager off the ring apron and into the barricade. So Hager then got back into the ring and delivered a suplex to Warlow, and he did another one. Warlow ended up heading up to the top and delivered a senton to Hager, which was cool. Warlow went for the cover. Hager kicked out at 2. At the end of the match, Warlow delivered the F10 on Hager, went for the cover. There you go. Warlow ended up winning the match. Post-match, Jericho ended up saying on commentary that they are still very much the inner circle. And Hager looked like he was a little pissed about losing, but eventually him and Warlow end up bumping fists. And, you had Guevara, Santana Ortiz, and MJF. They end up applauding Hager and Warlow for that. But overall, decent match between Warlow and Jake Hager. So then we went backstage and we saw Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Gwen. They had some gin and they forgot the juice. So we had Snoop Dogg. Yes, Snoop Dogg was on Dynamite tonight. And the only reason why he was here is because of them promoting the Go Big show, which him and Cody Rhodes are going to be part of. It's going to be airing tomorrow night on TBS. They also promoted it on the ring apron that they had. And the ring apron tonight was a promotion for the show. So that's the only reason why Snoop Dogg was on the show tonight. And pretty much he did nothing here for this segment. He was just standing around. So Matt Hardy then ended up showing up with papers for Cassidy and Gwen. So Matt Hardy ended up wanting to make Private Party kings and 30% for what he can provide to them. It's fair enough. So Private Party ended up double checking the papers. Matt Hardy ended up telling them that even Cameo and Twitch is allowed. So Private Party ended up signing the papers. And Matt Hardy ended up saying that he'll see them later for dinner. So basically that was that. So then we had Team Taz come out. Team Taz, Taz, Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Will Hobbs, and Taz's son Hook. They all came out. They ended up heading to the ring for the weigh-in between Brian Cage and Darby Allin. And we had Tony Schiavone doing this whole thing. So Darby Allin and Brian Cage are going to meet next week on night 2 of New Year's Smash, where the TNT Championship is going to be on the line. So Taz end up wanting to know why Brian Cage had to go first. Because, of course, he's the challenger. So Brian Cage ended up stepping on the scale, and he ended up weighing in at 272 pounds. So Darby Allin then headed up, and he ended up weighing in at 170 pounds. So when we saw the new TNT Championship, what the new TNT Championship looked like, and I gotta say, it's much better than the old one. Of course, if you saw the end to Dynamite last week in the tribute show to John Huber, Tony Khan ended up giving the old TNT Championship to Brody Lee Jr., -1. So here is what the new TNT Championship looks like. Here it is. And I like how it looks. It's got the black straps. It looks awesome. It's better looking than the old one. But had to say that. Had to mention that. So then after Darby Allin ended up getting his weight in, he ended up taking the mic, and he ended up saying that he's dealt with shit from people like Taz his whole life. Darby Allin ended up saying, let's just get to the fun part. Darby Allin then grabbed a skateboard, he banged it on the mat. Taz then ended up telling Tony Schiavone to get out of the ring. And Taz ended up going to talk to Darby Allin, but, of course, the lights go out. Sting made his way out from the stage, came out from the tunnel. Team Taz then bailed out of the ring. And Team Taz thought that Sting was coming from, down, the Raptors. But he ended up coming out, of course, through the tunnel on the stage. So Sting then got in the ring with Darby Allin. Taz then yelled that he's sick of the snow and that he's sick of Sting. Taz then ended up telling Darby Allin that next week a new TNT champion will be crowned. So Team Taz ended up walking off. Sting and Darby Allin were having a stare down, which was cool. And that was how the segment ended. But, it's the same thing. Team Taz in the ring, Darby Allin's there. Sting makes his way out. Team Taz ends up bailing out of the ring. So it's the same thing that we've been seeing for weeks. So nothing new. So then we went backstage. MJF ended up bringing a cameraman into a room. Hager was pissed off about his loss to Warlow. MJF ended up telling Hager that he should be proud of himself, that he got in and out of the ring. MJF ended up telling Hager that he's still undefeated in the Octagon. Of course, because Hager does MMA fight him. Hager ended up saying that MJF almost got dropped when he came into the room. But Hager ended up saying that MJF is cool. And he gets a fist bump. And then Hager ends up telling MJF to head out. So that was that. And then we went backstage. Alex Marvez was talking to the Jurassic Express about what's next for them. Marco Stunt ended up saying that the tag team titles are next for them. FTR, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler along with Tully Blanchard, end up showing up. FTR end up telling Marco Stunt that he's useless, and that the other two guys do all the dirty work. They also mentioned about Marco Stunt having a stare down with Brody Lee Jr. -1 because they played the video of Marco Stunt there with -1 Brody Lee Jr. So we saw that. Marco Stunt ended up saying that next week he's taken Luchasaurus' spot and he will beat both of their asses. So that was basically that. And then we had Cody Rhodes versus Matt Seidel. Of course, Snoop Dogg came out along with Cody because, of course, promotion for the Go Big Show happening, premiering tomorrow on TBS tomorrow night. And Cody Rhodes came out. His entrance theme got a remix from Snoop Dogg, which was pretty decent. So the match started with Matt Seidel end up getting a quick pin on Cody. Cody ended up bridging up and out of the pin. Matt Seidel ended up hitting a roundhouse kick to Cody's neck. He then went for an arm drag and a shotgun drop kick in the corner. Went for the cover. Cody ended up kicking out at 2. Cody was out on the ramp, and Matt Seidel ended up hitting a Meteora on the ramp. And Snoop Dogg was just standing on the stage. He was just reacting on the stage. So Cody ended up taking a kick to the head from Matt Seidel, and he was out on the floor. Cody then ended up swinging on Matt Seidel, and he mistakenly punched Serpentico, who was sitting at ringside. So Matt Seidel ended up going to the top rope, delivered a splash, but Cody ended up rolling it into a Texas Cloverleaf. So Matt Seidel ended up trying to do a jumping knee strike to Cody. Cody ended up dodging it and then hit the crossroads. And then he had another crossroads to Matt Seidel and went for the cover. There you go. Cody Rhodes ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Serpentico and Luther. They end up getting into the ring, and they beat up on Cody for what Cody did, where he mistakenly punched Serpentico. So Matt Seidel was able to deliver a boot to Luther, which Luther went out of the ring. Snoop Dogg was just standing there, and he then finally wanted to do something. So Snoop Dogg ended up climbing up to the top rope. And I thought he was going to slip and fall off the top rope. So he delivered a splash from the top, which looked like he botched it. So it was a Snoop splash. So we had Snoop Dogg delivering the splash onto Serpentico. Cody was there. He ended up making the 3 count. And so Snoop Dogg ended up celebrating that win, which wasn't an official count. And Jericho was going nuts on commentary. He's like, "Oh, I hate that guy," which I thought was funny. I hate all these guys. And that's what Jericho was like on commentary, though. But it was hilarious. But overall, the match, it was an okay match. Then we had Hikaru Shida versus Abadon, where the AEW Women's World Championship was on the line. This was a solid women's match, and Abadon, of course, wanted to come for the AEW Women's World Championship. And I said that, Abadon was going to beat Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's World Championship. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. I was wrong. I got my prediction wrong. So I thought Abadon would be the one to take the AEW Women's World Championship off of Hikaru Shida. But this was a solid match. It was crazy with Abadon here. Abadon ended up attacking Hikaru Shida as Hikaru Shida made her entrance. Hikaru Shida ended up hitting the kendo stick to Abadon. She ended up passing out. Abadon got right back up, and she was looking to bite Hikaru Shida again. If you remember, Abadon ended up biting Hikaru Shida's neck, and the both of them got in the ring. Match got underway. Hikaru Shida ended up rolling up Abadon and landed a drop kick. There was a point where Abadon ended up going under the ring along with Hikaru Shida. The two ended up underneath the ring. Referee ended up going under there. And Abadon ends up coming out from under the ring. And then Hikaru Shida ended up coming out. And we find out that Abadon had bitten Hikaru Shida on the neck again. There was also a point where Abadon ended up biting Hikaru Shida on her knee. So it was crazy, though. But in the end, Hikaru Shida ended up delivering a running knee to Abadon, went for the cover, and Hikaru Shida ended up winning the match, retaining the AEW Women's World Championship. Overall, solid match. Crazy how you saw Abadon end up biting Hikaru Shida's knee, and seeing Hikaru Shida come out from underneath the ring, bitten again right on the neck. But overall, solid match. And then they went over to commentators, end up going over what we're going to see next week on night 2 of New Year's Smash. We're going to be seeing Pac end up taking on Eddie Kingston. Miro versus Chucky T, which was announced earlier in the night, where Chucky T ends up losing. He has to be Miro's young boy until after Kip and Penelope's wedding. We're going to have Britt Baker's new talk show called The Waiting Room, which I heard premiered on AEW Dark, but it's going to be on Dynamite next week. Yay, I'm so looking forward to that. So her guest is going to be, of course, Cody Rhodes. We're going to be seeing FTR versus Jurassic Express, which they announced earlier. Of course, Darby Allin versus Brian Cage with the TNT Championship is going to be on the line. Serena Deeb versus T Conti. NWA Women's World Championship is going to be on the line. Where you had T Conti. She was backstage with Anna Jay, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds, of course, of the Dark Order. T Conti ended up telling Serena Deeb that she has a lot of respect for her and that she's coming for the NWA Women's World Championship. Conti ended up saying that she has lots of experience in judo and jiu-jitsu, and that she has plenty of backup with her, meaning she's going to be having Anna Jay, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds out there during her match. So she's bringing out the Dark Order. Probably minus Evil Uno. Who knows? Evil Uno might be out there as well. And then the Elite is going to be in action. And the Inner Circle are going to have their New Year's resolution. As I said, what is Inner Circle's New Year's resolution? We'll have to find out next week on night 2 of New Year's Smash. But overall, pretty good card for next week. And then we went to the main event. Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix. The AEW World Championship on the line. Kenny Omega, of course, was out there along with Don Callis. This was a very good match. This was an awesome match between Omega and Fenix. The match went back and forth. Fenix then took control, sending Kenny Omega out to the floor. Fenix then leapt out and did a Hurricanrana on Omega, which looked awesome. Omega ended up looking for a swinging DDT, and Fenix ended up landing on his feet, which was really cool. Fenix then delivered a drop kick to Omega and delivered a chop. Omega then ended up nailing a Snapdragon suplex to Fenix, which that looked cool. Omega ended up delivering a suplex on the ring apron to Fenix and dropped Fenix down to the barricade. So Don Callis was heard yelling, "He's done, Kenny." So Omega then ended up hitting a Hikaru Crusher to Fenix. He went for the cover. Fenix ended up kicking out at 2. We had Fenix end up recovering because Omega then ended up hitting a backbreaker on Fenix. Fenix then recovered. He ended up on the apron. And he ended up hitting a drop kick, which sent Omega out to the floor. And then Fenix landed a flippin' dive onto Kenny Omega, which he nearly went over the barricade. Which that was a really awesome dive that Fenix did on Omega. And then they went back into the ring. Fenix hit a moonsault off the second rope, and after he hit the moonsault off the second rope, he went right into a release German suplex to Omega. Good combo there. Went for the cover. Omega kicked out at 2. And then Fenix ended up hitting a double foot stomp to the back of Omega's neck, which Omega ended up going out to the floor. Omega then got up and delivered a knee strike, which Fenix ended up landing a hook quick on Omega. Then Omega came back, delivered a power bomb to Fenix. Fenix ended up kicking out at 2. And at the end of the match, we had Omega end up hitting the V-trigger to Fenix. And then the one-winged angel. Omega went for the cover. And there you go. Omega ended up winning the match, retaining the AEW World Championship. But post-match, we had Don Callis end up getting on the mic. Callis ended up saying that apparently something terrible is happening in the back. So they show what's happening in the back on the screen, and we see the Butcher, the Blade, and Eddie Kingston there, and we saw them beat up on Pac and Penta El Zero Miedo. So we end up seeing that. Don Callis ended up telling Fenix that Penta and Pac isn't coming for him. And Don Callis ended up saying that it's a one-winged angel, sending him into the scrap heap of history. So Callis then ended up telling Omega to finish off Fenix. So then we saw Moxley end up coming out. He had a barbed wire bat in hand. Don Callis, of course, got out of there quick. He ran out of there. And Moxley ended up smacking Omega with the barbed wire bat. And then we had Moxley end up staring at Don Callis. And then a surprise happened. We had the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson, the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, come out. They end up taking down Moxley. And then we had the Good Brothers beat up Moxley. They end up hitting the Magic Killer on him. So they walked around a little bit. And Omega then continued to beat up Moxley. Omega was all blooded from the barbed wire bat from Moxley. So Omega then ended up grabbing the barbed wire bat, whacks Moxley with it. And then we saw the Varsity Blondes. They tried to get involved and help Moxley. They end up getting thrown out by the Good Brothers and Omega. And Jericho was going ballistic on commentary here. He was like, oh, Don Callis is not even signed. Oh, Gallows and Anderson, they aren't even signed. You know, they're not from AEW. They're from Impact. So we had more of the other roster trying to help. They all got taken out. So Gallows ended up putting one of them through a table. And we had Gallows and Anderson. They ended up holding Moxley. Omega then ended up smacking him with the barbed wire bat. Sorry about that, but I was saying you had Omega end up hitting Moxley again with the barbed wire bat. Omega then ended up yelling at the camera, saying, Moxley, you made me flip the switch. So then we had the Good Brothers and Omega continuing to beat up on Moxley. And we had Matt and Nick Jackson end up coming out. And we had Garrison and Pillman Jr., Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. They end up both grabbing Kenny Omega. And Matt and Nick end up delivering super kicks to Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. So then Matt and Nick Jackson, they end up throwing up the hand sign, the Bullet Club hand sign with Gallows and Anderson and Kenny Omega. And I thought that was a awesome moment there. It was a great moment. And that was how night one of New Year's Smash ended on Dynamite. And this moment is already being talked about by wrestling fans here. You know, after the show was over, went online, and there are many fans talking about this moment. But all in all, it was an awesome moment. Really enjoyed this. Did not expect the Good Brothers to invade on Dynamite tonight. But overall, Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix, awesome match. It was a very good main event match. But anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Dynamite, night one of New Year's Smash. Thank you all for watching. And there will be no SmackDown review this Friday. It will be up on Saturday. So expect a SmackDown review on Saturday. So just wanted to get that out. So anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later.